Hello computer cooks, thanks for pressing play on this video and welcome back to Retro Recipes. Well, in part 3 we finished building the Commodore Music Maker station, the CMM station, and it looks rather fetching if I do say so myself, which I do. But it was all very well making everything look so nice, but there was one problem with that fancy power light. It don't bloody work! So we did this.
Welcome to Retro Recipes Live.
Yep, a marathon 3-hour marathon live video repair attempt, collaborative and everything. We were joined by some very special guests. Alpha. Mindflare Retro was there, Gadget UK, and many of my lovely Patreons too. Please check out the link below to join the Perifrac team. But apart from not working, the motherboard also needed refurbishing. So let's get on with that repair and refurb as we load up part 4 and refurbish this. Well, during my live video that preceded this project, I opened up that Commodore 64 that was shattered in the mail and lifted the lid, or the anti-static protector, in quotes, off this motherboard. It looked to be in fairly good shape, but when I lifted it up, it was obvious we might have some issues. Oh gosh. So let's cut to the present day and the motherboard itself, as I hand you over to my colleague, me.
Well, looky here, we've got a package arrived. What could it be? I was going to do a live unboxing, and if you subscribe you can toggle the subscription icon to get live video updates, but actually I think this is going to be more related to this video, and indeed it is. Look. Ooh, we've got some recap kits, one spare for another time and one for this machine.
So here is the famous board from the live collaborative repair attempt, and I was just blown away by the number of people we had. I think up to 60 people chatting at one point, and what a great community feel it was to have everyone pitching in just to save one Commodore 64 out of 16, 18, 20 million. But that shows you just how special these devices are to us and how much we all want to help. Now, the only difference here from when I left that video was I bought this dead test cartridge, but turning on the computer gives just the same result, a blank screen. And according to the dead test manual, that indicates number 5 here, a defective VIC chip or associated control logic circuits. So we're no further along, really. However, I have bought this and a few other things. This is a desoldering vacuum station or vacuum pump. Firstly, I'm going to finish replacing all the capacitors. We did these 3 main ones, but it doesn't hurt to finish that job. Secondly, I'm going to be replacing the logic chips. Our number 1 suspect is U31. This is the oscillator. And because we were getting some what you could say were oscillation images with that first VIC chip that originally came in this board, that could be a likely culprit. After that, we can also try replacing the remaining 3 logic chips, because this does seem to be a VIC related issue, and this is really where all the graphics that outputs a blank screen or a working screen comes from. So that gives us our plan of attack. Who's got 2 thumbs up and a dead Commodore 64? This retro enthusiast. Enhanced vacuum pumps, suction greater. Good to know. You can work a long time without tired. Try joining a 3-hour collaborative video. Put that on Craigslist. Oh, nice. Sponge. I am sponge worthy. I'll get this set up and get to work. Oh, what's that? What was I expecting? Put some water on the sponge. Oh, okay, I'll stop pouring water over the Commodore. Let's see how well this works. That's pretty cool. Oh my gosh. I think I'm in love. That makes life so much easier. Oh goodness. Okay, and this guy goes in here. Now remember, polarity does matter with these. So you can see the minus on there. So that side is minus, usually the shorter leg. And on the board here, you can see plus printed on the board. So that means plus, the longer leg, goes in there. And then my little technique, if you've seen my other video of recapping capacitors, is I bend one leg over and then work on the straight leg and then switch them so that this one is bent and that one's straight. And then just heat one side of the pin and push the solder in from the other and release. So that one is now holding the capacitor in place. So we can straighten this one, get a nice straight clean result on that one too. A little more. Nice. And once that's done, you can just trim off the legs. Nice. Okay, turning on in 3, 2, 1. Now you will have heard there a high-pitched whining descending in tone. I'm not sure if that's related to this issue yet, but I have put there it is. But I have put some feelers out on the Twitter thread about this issue to see if anyone knows what that could be. So I'm going to go ahead and just get desoldering and recapping.
What do you want me to do?
So that's interesting. I just replaced capacitor 107, which is obviously in the VIC circuitry, and I no longer get the high-pitched whining. Still a blank screen though. Well, it was at this point that Mrs. Perifractic came in and spontaneously started playing me the theme tune to Red Dwarf on the ukulele. Ah, true love. Well, I have now recapped every capacitor on the board, apart from inside the modulator there. I have to say this was a godsend. I'll put a link below the video where you can get hold of one of these. They're usually $100, $200, $300, but this one was really good value. Nearly vacuumed myself up there. Now getting to these is a real pain. You have to remove the whole modulator and desolder it. So I'm just wondering if I can take this out another way. I'm just going to wiggle these. That's one. There's also the same method you use to remove a tick from your dog. I have actually had to do that. Twist it round and round till it lets go. That's one. And that's two. Now, the hope is that if I put it in here, I'm going to even out those pins a little bit. Negative was nearest to me. Put it in like this. Even though it's going to be sticking up quite a bit, I can still solder. And I'll bend it over a bit. Let's try this out. Actually, a little bit of it did take in there. Feels pretty steady. Let's try it out. Well, we still have a blank screen. Now, as I have a box of chip sockets, I may as well remove U31 anyway, whilst I wait for the replacement U31 to arrive. So that's the right one. So let me use my fancy desoldering gun that I'm very excited about, as you may have noticed. We'll remove U31 and put a socket in it. No, put a socket in. And that last one there. One side at least. Clean things up a little bit. So there's our socket, ready for U31 to arrive in the post. Come on, snail mail. Now, as mentioned in previous videos, I also want to refurbish this board. And by that I just mean clean it up, respray some of the metals, such as this, which I've removed from here, and tidy things up like this before putting it in the dishwasher. I'm going to turn up the temperature all the way to 450. Also add some flux to aid with the heat conductivity. I'm going to tin the tip of the solder remover. It smells like pizza. Don't know why. Look out for this on eBay. What we got cooking today on Retro Recipes? Well, now seemed like the opportune time to make sure the board was still working in as much as it was ever working.
12 volts. 5 volts. Still working. So I decided I wanted to really respray this and scrub it up to look brand new, but also try to save these labels. So let's try this. We'll leave that to soak for about half an hour and come back to it. Okay, let's see if this worked. Why would they label a cartridge port shield twice? Why am I doing this? Okay, next stop, let's go outside. Ow. Couldn't do that again if I tried. Apply some fresh solder. And this guy. It's looking like a new board already, huh? But we're not quite done. Refurb says this has passed its QC test. I think we do need our own official quality control sticker. RR. Hey, they didn't have neat handwriting in the factory. Nice. Now, another important troubleshooting step, as recommended by a lot of you on the chat, is to try each of the chips in the dead Commodore 64 in a known working Commodore 64. Okay, so that VIC is working. Now we just repeat that process for the other 476 chips.
And the same result with everything else. All the chips work.
Well, looky here. I got a little package from England. This should be the replacement logic chips and some free sockets. Nice. Now I always ground myself on something that is connected to Earth before I work on any of these, which is why I don't wear a wristband, just a wrist watch. Hello. So we're actually going to start by replacing the oscillator in chip position U31. And that is this. It is a SN74LS629N, as everyone knows. Now this is the new one here, all the way from Malaysia in the 80s. Well, we've already socketed this, so it should be as simple as dropping that in. Plug it in, connect the power, turn on TV,
and turning on the board in 3, 2, 1. We've got sync as before. Now what I mean when I say we've got sync is, as I turn it off, you see the no signal. The no signal is, as I turn the board on, it turns off. See? It also means it wasn't the oscillator. That means I've got to get desoldering 3 more chips. But not before a couple more finishing touches. So I was just studying the board with a fine-toothed comb, and I noticed just above U25 this cut in the board.
Tell me what you want me to do.
Nothing.
Welcome.
The advice that I'm getting from the rest of this collaborative repair team is, actually it could be these 2 chips, the U25 and U13. They're basically multiplexers, and we're going to desolder these, put sockets in and swap them around. And again, just to help not get things wrong, put those dots there and hope this isn't conductive paint pen. Yeah. And I find the key is to just push the desoldering vacuum down for a second before you suck, if you know what I mean, because that then gives the solder time to melt. Yeah, these are particularly stubborn. I'm going to use a little trick I learned from Gadget UK, which is just to add solder, which gets all that old solder reflowing. That's hot. Ow! Pardon my language, sorry. Oh boy. Whoa, that gave me a surprise. There you go, you little butt. No, I don't want to damage these at all, because I've got to swap them out. Just wiggling them to see which ones are still soldered in. Just the tiniest bit of solder still on there can keep them stuck. We'll just try and melt them loose whilst exerting gentle pressure. Yeah. Nice. Let's see if this one's any easier. No! And then I'll do that same trick again that I actually learned from Janbita, which is carefully moving the pins to make sure they're all free. Yeah, a lot of these are still stuck. Alright, yeah. Just need one to get started and the rest seem to come up. Nice, we can drop our sockets in there. We'll use the ones Retrolium kindly donated. I'll just tape those down so they stay in place. Okay, so I have tinned the tip of the iron, and here we go.
Tell me what you want me to
Hey Google, add alcohol wipes to the shopping list.
Okay, I've added alcohol wipes to your shopping list.
Hey Google, thank you.
I'm happy to help.
These alcohol wipes leave these bits of fabric on these pins though. Hey Google, remove alcohol wipes from the shopping list.
Actually, I can't remove items from your shopping list yet. To manage your list, please use the shopping list in the Google Home app.
Okay, thank you. Guess I'll just have to buy them. That's enough chit chat. Or as Alan Partridge would say, well, we won't go into that. This broadcast is rated U for Universal. I'm going to put these firmly in their switched positions. All right. The moment of truth. Okay. Turning on in 3, 2, 1. Not a sausage. Try once more. Not a tiny little sausage. Yeah, put them back in their original positions. Turning on in 3, 2, 1. Okay, on to the next phase. Now this here is a logic probe, and we can use this to measure activity or lack of activity on the pins of various chips and also on any other connections. And you'll get a reading that's either high, low, or it will pulse, and this tells you the kind of activity flowing through that pin. It might also do nothing, which would mean you're probably on a floating pin or one that's not designed to be connected, or you just isolated a fault. So all we do with this device is connect it to 5 volts and ground, and then we go ahead and test things. Now, one thing that came up in the team repair attempt was to find out whether pin 1 on the CPU was pulsing or not. So this is pin 1. And as you may have noticed, that is indeed pulsing. So these are the chips that I swapped around when I was trying to troubleshoot. You can see the different kinds of activity going on there. That's a particularly fun one. Although I prefer that one. That one needs to just calm down. So now I know that my socketing of this was successful. We can also have a look at the RAM. Those are pretty different. Okay chaps, next on the list from the team collaboration is, switch out this, U30. This is a frequency divider. Beautiful. This one ends 193, and this is our new 193. We've got a socket. That socket with a socket. If only I had some spare sockets. Too big, too big. Okay. Put some tape on there, innit? Soldering time again. See if this frequency divider was the root of all evil. And a familiar sight for you now, the TV, turning on in 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Dagnammit, as they say in America, where I live. Yeah. Well, folks, I've got 2 more spares right now, and these 2 belong in these 2 positions. So I'm going to desolder, socket, and install these there as well. then we will have done all we can do. And without going into too much detail, basically all of these chips are part of the logic circuit for the VIC. Okay, you know the drill. 3, 2, 1. Just about ready to give up with this board. Well, we've got one more to socket before I socket to someone. Inactive for almost 1 hour. Torso twist. Let's do it. Great. In you go, boy. Or girl. Well, say what you will, working or not, at least we have all of these socketed. Power in. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Nothing. I think there's only one thing for it. Just kidding. I would never do that, of course, but there was something that we were joking about on the Twitter thread where we continued with the repair brainstorming for this. It's tempting. Yeah. Maybe just... Holy sh... Oh. That is the dead test trying to tell us something. So we can count the number of flashes. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's turn this off. 7 flashes. I think it could be a RAM issue. Let's consult the dead test guide. 7 flashes on a Revision A board indicates U9. So U9 is this guy here. It's actually our first RAM chip. Now if there's another RAM fault after we replace this, it'll start flashing a different code and we can go one by one and replace those out. But for now, this is our likely culprit. You little 9. Well, we're still waiting for our RAM to arrive, but not only have we made some visual improvements to this board, but we've also got some life out of it now. We'll have to wait until the next step.
I'll get it.
Yes. Well, here we've got our generous RAM donation from Copper Light Computers in Texas. Alright, so this guy goes here. Just make sure each of these pins moves. Excuse me. Excuse you. And you. If it doesn't move easily, then you have not finished desoldering. If you're in any doubt, just add a bit of solder back in. There you go. And if it's just one or two legs holding on, you can just heat them up. Nice. I wonder if that was the problem all along. We're going to put the new chip in anyway, but leading up to this point, getting those flashing codes suddenly, it could have been these traces that I fixed. It could have been the multiplexers. It could have been the percussive maintenance. Could have been the oscillator. It may have been a combination of those, and then maybe I flexed the board. Maybe the percussive maintenance dislodged a pin clipping from between some chips, pushed together a tracer that was fractured. I don't quite know how we got to this point. These machines are a bit of a mystery, and repairing them is also a bit mysterious. But we're not there yet, we've got to try this. Now it's worth mentioning I could have tested this by piggybacking the RAM chip on top of the other chip, and it will actually take over the duties, so to speak. However, that's not fail-safe, and they've kindly given us some sockets. It's gone in nicely. Just make sure all the pins are coming through. Looks good. And then apply heat one side and solder on the other. It's worth mentioning this is a lead-free solder. I probably don't use it enough to worry about that. The lead-free solder can look a little less shiny, but it's just as solid in my limited experience. And in he goes. Or she. Don't know. Don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm actually nervous. Okay. I'm feeling lucky. Gonna reinstate all the chips. Show you the TV. Okay guys, fingers crossed. 3, 2, 1. Oh, you beautiful thing. Oh. Well, there it is. Now, my plan was to write another new song on this finished CMM station, but this video is already too long. I should probably let you go. So make sure you subscribe for that new video where I'll make a lovely new SID chip tune on this little beauty. Speaking of songs though, shameless plug, this week I released my retro triple album, Instrumental. Check out the description below for how you can stream that, and it includes the first song that I made on this device recently, a track called One of Those Things, featuring C64. For now though, well, we refurbished and saved another Commodore 64 from the trash pile, which means with or without new music, we're definitely ending on the right note. Cheerio!